Well, the highlight for me, first and foremost, has been that you are seeing, despite of the global recession, you are seeing positive signs in many markets in the world. But we're also seeing Africa as well, not as growing in the number of birds as probably Asia and China might be growing. But for us, it actually gives us hope that when you actually say that where is the biggest growth is going to come from after Asia, clearly, in our view, that biggest growth is going to come from Africa. And what this conference is actually once again emphasizing is the importance of us as a region, as a continent, to be ready to interface with the investment market, to influence the market, to ensure that for them to expand into global operations, that we as a continent of Africa are the most important market to be.
After our panel discussion that you were part of, I spoke to one of the delegates at the conference who had been listening, and they were saying that it was just so disheartening to hear about all this money that is going into the Asia, that is going into the Americas, because there are good deals there right now because of what's been happening, and not so much coming onto the African continent. So just talk to us a little bit about what you would like to see happen in terms of having those capital flows coming to the continent.
Well, first, I think what we need to do as well as players in the African continent economies, we need to be able to go and interface with the market more aggressively, be able to influence the market, be able to show the levels of growth.
How do we do that? I think that's the key thing. How do we do that?
Let me say that from the case where we are, we have been participating in almost all of the international platforms, whether you are talking about the ITB, whether you talk about WTM in London, whether you're talking about Viviers in Spain. I'm going to Germany. And part of my trip that I'm going to be Germany by the end of this week is the fact that we're also going to be talking to the investment market. So the more we are going there and we are actually talking, but we also need to ensure that both government as well as private sector are speaking from the same hymn book. If we are able to convey the similar message about how ready we are, about the positiveness of our markets and our investment destination, about presenting to the markets the fact that we are now harmonized and are saying that KwaZulu-Natal has developed what we call an investment protocol. And we think we need to actually show the market that we are not only a well-organized destination that is ready to receive them, but we are ready to ensure that their investment can yield better returns in our market.
One of the questions that came out of our panel discussion, I think, is an important one, is what is Africa doing to have that one voice to say this is where you want to put your money? Because yes, we do have different African countries and we do have different policies there, but how much synergy is happening between the countries so that we are able to, so that South Africa is not impacted by what a neighbor might be doing or what might be happening in North Africa, but that Africa is seen as stable, is seen as a place where you want to put your money?
I think a number of things are being done by African and African leaders and the African people themselves to ensure that we see a development. First, in the area of the continent, we are saying we want to see more political stability, and for us it is an ultimate important thing that investors who want to invest in any market must be assured of stability. We want to see more constitutional democracies taking root in Africa, and which is happening. Third one is that we want to see greater investment by African government in infrastructure, because it's only when you actually invest in infrastructure that it will have the lead and the pull factors for investors. The fourth one, which I think is important for us in the ACDC in particular, we actually are utilizing the platform of Reptosa, and Reptosa is now able to organize and be able to go out there in a much more harnessed manner, where African leaders in the ACDC are able to utilize and use that platform to market the ACDC. I think for us as well in KwaZulu-Natal, we are actually going to be launching a forum between ourselves and Swaziland and Mozambique, which we started last year, called the Easter Route. And we'll be announcing that tomorrow. When is that going to take place? And for us, it means one thing, that as more we speak in one voice, the more we know that we have to be able to have collective initiatives in marketing, but also utilizing our comparative and competitive advantages. If we are able to package those in a manner that benefits the continent, I think we will be remembered as a generation of African leaders and people who are able to turn around the fortunes of Africa.
We're seeing a lot of Africans moving to different countries in terms of where business opportunities are, and a lot of business travel among Africans on the African continent. When it comes to integration and some of the issues, when it comes to visas, for instance, just to be able to, here in South Africa, if you want to go to another country or on the African continent, sometimes the visa issues might be difficult. In terms of integrating the country, the continent, in the way that it would be easy to move around, easy to move capital around, how much discussion is happening at that level?
Well, I must say that I know, for instance, that in the ACDC, out of the 15 countries that makes up the ACTC, there are only about 3 countries that are still debating the issue of the Univisa. And I want to simply say that the leaders, particularly the tourism ministers, are now agreeing that we may have to go ahead and leave those countries that are ready, because we think it is important that we must be able to implement a system that will make it easier for the movement of people in and amongst countries in the African continent.